Well, we are at the tail end of the holidays and heading into what has traditionally been one of the biggest party nights of the year. Despite all of that celebration, though, this can be a pretty emotionally challenging time for a lot of people. And there's a national project that is hoping to alleviate some of those challenges. It's called the Canoe Project, and it's organized by the Dr. Peter Center here in Vancouver, as well as the Community Alliances and Networks organization. And the project is about trying to provide culturally appropriate supports and services for Indigenous people. Now, Sherry Puyak is Cree and from the Sweetgrass First Nation. She recently facilitated a session on the holiday blues and harm reduction. She is on the line with us from Saskatoon this morning. Good morning to you, Sherry.
Good morning.
Thank you for being with us. And Susan Powell is here as well. Now, Susan is Lakota with British Isles ancestry as well, and she's an elder with the Dr. Peter Center's Indigenous Wellness Team, and she is on the line with us from here in Vancouver. Good morning to you, Susan.
Good morning, Stephen.
Thank you both so much for being with us. Sherry, I want to get to you first because I guess before we get into some of the unique challenges that some Indigenous people are facing during this time of year, just tell us about your own relationship to the holidays and the New Year as a Cree person.
Yeah. Well, the holidays are always like a difficult. It's on the spectrum, right? It's either like the best time. People are so excited to see each other, and there's these really good feelings that are happening. But for a lot of people, I think non-Indigenous as well, it's really a time of struggle. Like just there's expectations on how is your family going to be? How should you be with your family? Grief. There's I know around my community, and I'm from North Battleford, which there's a lot of reserves around there. There's been a lot of loss, so there's a lot of emotions going on. So there's it's kind of really along the spectrum, and people sometimes really just they think about the ones that have passed on. They think about what life could have been or what they should have done, or so there's all of these expectations around the holiday season that I think can be really difficult for people to manage. And even myself having I've lost several significant people in my life. My father died 30 years ago. My late brother-in-law, who was a significant person in my life, he passed away going on 4 years ago. So
Gosh.
it it can be really like difficult for people. Actually used to live on the island, so coming home was always really exciting, and minus the plane travel
Yeah, I bet.
chaos of so it really, there is a huge spectrum, but that you're trying to manage and think about, and that come into play.
Yeah. And Susan, what about for you? I mean, as Sherry just described, I mean, there's looking back, but are you also looking forward?
Absolutely. That's that's been our way forever, is making taking a look at what's been and charting a course forward. And so at the Dr. Peter Center, there's always support for the participants to come together and support each other through some of the things that Sherry was describing, but also to, well, what's coming in the new year and can we be looking forward to? And I think that's a very important aspect of self-care.
And I understand you were not actually raised by the Lakota side of your family. Is that right?
That's true. Yes, I was raised by my grandmother, who her father had come directly from Scotland,
Oh my gosh.
and so it was a very different universe in which that I grew up in. And my mom, was somebody who had never been able to deal with her unresolved healing issues. And so she pretty much disappeared out of my life at a very early age, and I never got to know the Lakota side of my family. And so it's been a beautiful journey for me to be reconnected not only with Lakota people, but First Nations people across Canada and the US.
Hmm. And I guess, Susan, when we talk about, people, or I guess, well, Sherry, I'll go back to you for a moment. When we talk about people, in the holiday blues, You talk, Sherry, about the number of people you've lost in the past little while. I mean, it can't be easy for a lot of Indigenous people who have lost a lot of people.
Yeah, no, it's a real struggle when you like, you just people, then they've lost, sometimes three, four people in a close proximity. But, I just want to say that in our culture, like for Indigenous people, and I think this goes across the country, this isn't just specific to Cree, is that we have strong family bonds. We have strong and that's not just immediate family. I'm talking like where I'm from in North Battleford, I've got well over 100 or maybe 200 people in my extended family system, and that's like cousins and their kids. And so we have these large family systems that we can rely on and go to, and they're there to support us. So when we do have a loss, or there is a loss in their community, everybody kind of comes together and supports one another through that, and then beyond. And we really try to ensure that, especially if somebody who is, recently had a loss in their family, like continue to support them. Isn't just the
Hmm.
funeral is done and then you go on. It's well
Mhm.
after that, checking in with people and checking in, and see how they are, and really provide
Right.
support to them. So that is a huge difference, I think, with I know non-Indigenous people have their support systems, but for us, it's like, we've got this large extended um, family that, not even just a biological family, but family that we've created, or family that, we take as our own, to help us through difficult times. So.
Right. And Susan, how do you see this play out in the work you do at the Dr. Peter Center then?
Well, one of the things, because for people who don't really know about the Dr. Peter Center, it's a support system set up for people who are living with HIV and AIDS. And then there's a lot of uh, Hep C work as well, hepatitis C.
Mm.
And so people have become able to be stabilized in living with HIV, but then there are a number of additional health concerns that arise and issues. And so sadly, we have people who pass away that we've gotten to know. And every time that sad event happens, there's always a memorial moment, just even within the day, um, that happens, within a week or so after a person passes, and
Mm.
people gather together, and they might have written down a note to the person, just remembering something special about that person, and then we gather and just remember them. And one of my relatives is fond of saying that. People live as long as we still say their name, and so we remember their names as we move forward and just hold them very tenderly in our hearts.
It's a very lovely way of thinking about it. And Sherry, for you, I mean, how do you stay grounded at this time of year?
Culture and ceremony for me, really connecting with my, my Cree, spirituality and the traditions. And I just want to say, for us Cree, and I don't know, I can't speak on for anybody else, but in our family and where I come from, New Year's is like a time of celebration. So, you do feel that blue, but at the same time, you have, New Year's Eve is this time where we used to, like, it was more meaningful than
Hmm.
Christmas. So it was
Mhm.
this time to celebrate. So I look forward to that, to, going out and bringing in the new year and thinking about the new year and what's to come, and, just praying for those better things to come in the new year and for our people. And, we really try to remember our own ceremonies and think about those that are struggling or lost, and it's really a kind of a good time to have that remembrance and think about that. So um, yeah,
Mm.
that's what I think about.
And
Mhm.
and Sherry, for you, I'm sorry, Susan, for you.
Well, the for people who follow the Sundance path, the new year is when the Sundance happens. So typically that's in the summer. So a person's personal new year would be then. But then there's the coming together for the turning of the Gregorian calendar,
Hmm.
and we love to celebrate, to celebrate life and to celebrate the possibilities, and and that the song in English "Auld Lang Syne" is about
Yeah.
maybe thinking of people who are no longer with us, and and just pulling people close. And I think as human people, part of the human family, we all have that in common. We hear a lot in society right now about people longing for deeper connections, and we all certainly are part of that, looking for deeper connections, both with
Mm.
ourselves and the natural world and with one another.
So good to hear from both of you this morning. Thank you very much, and the best of the new year to you. And have a great time.
And to
Thank you for
you too,
having
Okay,
us.
Stephen. Thank you.
you take care. Bye bye now.
Take
Bye
care.
bye.
And Susan Powell, an elder with the Dr. Peter Center's Indigenous Wellness Team in Vancouver. Sherry Puyak is a facilitator with the Canoe Project. And that project is holding future virtual sessions in January and February. If you want to get involved, you can reach the project lead at creemall at drpeter.org. Let me spell that for you. Creemall is CREEMAUL at drpeter.org.